Rightio, let's dive into the psychology of childhood emotional neglect, shall we? It's a rather complex topic, but I'll do my best to break it down in a straightforward, easy to understand way. First off, let's define what we mean by childhood emotional neglect. It's when a child's emotional needs, things like affection, validation, and a sense of being cared for, aren't met by their primary caregivers. This could be due to the parents being physically present but emotionally distant, or even outright absent from the child's life. The key is that the child doesn't receive the emotional nurturing they require during those formative years. Now, what happens in the brain when a child experiences this type of neglect? Well, it can have a profound impact on the way their neural pathways develop. You see, the brain is like a sponge in childhood. It's rapidly absorbing and wiring itself based on the experiences and environment the child is exposed to. When a child doesn't receive the emotional responsiveness they need, it can lead to issues with emotional regulation, self-awareness, and even the formation of a stable sense of self. Imagine it like this. A child is constantly reaching out for comfort or validation, but time and time again, their pleas go unanswered. Over time, the brain starts to internalize the message that their emotional needs don't matter, that they're not worthy of being cared for. This can manifest in the development of maladaptive coping mechanisms like difficulty identifying and expressing their feelings, or a tendency to seek out unhealthy relationships later in life. You see, when a child's emotional needs go unmet, they often find ways to adapt and survive within that environment. And unfortunately, those adaptations can end up becoming deeply ingrained patterns of behaviour that follow them into adulthood. Take the difficulty in identifying and expressing feelings, for instance. If a child is constantly told that their emotions are too much or unnecessary, they learn to shut down that part of themselves. They may become masters at masking how they truly feel, either because they don't want to burden others or because they've simply lost touch with their inner emotional landscape. This can lead to a whole host of problems later in life. Imagine trying to cultivate meaningful, intimate relationships when you struggle to articulate your needs and desires. It becomes an uphill battle, doesn't it? And then there's the tendency to seek out unhealthy relationships. When a child doesn't experience the love, validation, and security they crave from their primary caregivers, they can develop a distorted view of what a healthy relationship looks like. They may subconsciously gravitate towards partners who exhibit the same emotional unavailability or neglectful tendencies they experienced as a child. It's a vicious cycle, really. The child grows up believing that's just how relationships are supposed to be, and they unwittingly recreate that dynamic over and over again. And breaking free from that pattern can be an immense challenge, as it requires completely rethinking and relearning what a healthy, nurturing relationship should feel like. But the good news is, with the right support and self-awareness, these maladaptive coping mechanisms can be identified and replaced with more constructive, fulfilling ways of engaging with the world. It's all about rewriting those deeply ingrained neural pathways, you see? Rewiring the brain to recognize and respond to emotional needs in a healthy, adaptive manner, and the mental health implications can be quite serious. Childhood emotional neglect has been linked to a higher risk of depression, anxiety, attachment disorders, and even personality disorders down the line. It's as if the child's emotional foundation has been shaken, leaving them vulnerable to a whole host of mental health challenges. But here's the thing, it's not all doom and gloom. With the right support and intervention, individuals who have experienced childhood emotional neglect can absolutely heal and thrive. It may take time and effort, but by learning to reconnect with their emotions, set healthy boundaries, and build a supportive network, they can overcome the lingering effects of their early experiences. Well, there you have it. A deep dive into the complex and often misunderstood issue of childhood emotional neglect. I hope this video has provided you with a better understanding of the lasting impacts it can have, as well as some actionable steps you can take to begin the healing process. Remember, recovering from childhood emotional neglect is a journey, not a destination. It takes time, patience, and a whole lot of self-compassion. So if this video has resonated with you in any way, I encourage you to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. That way, you'll be the first to know when I release more content on mental health, personal growth, and all the other important topics we tackle here. Together, we can continue to shine a light on the issues that matter most and empower one another to live our best lives. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next one.